Hello,
Hi.
it's a pleasure to talk to you today. And I have to say, I'm so impressed that somebody came up with an idea to film a TV show while we're in a pandemic and all social distancing. It's so clever.
Yeah, I think another amazing thing is someone came up with the idea and then we managed to actually pull it off, because people come up with ideas all the time, but then actually implementing them can be really, really difficult. And we did it, and we did it in super quick time as well. You know, Jeff Pope came up with the idea. Sadly, he'd got COVID within his household. His wife was really poorly. He kind of, as she recovered, he came up with the idea. And I think from him having the idea to it being on screen was about 5 weeks, 6 weeks. It was a really short time for people to write them. All of us artists learn how to use all the equipment, getting a crew, a socially distanced crew, all working from home together, filming it, editing it, promoting it, and getting it out on UK TV was done in super quick time.
I have so many questions about this show because it's so unique. But first off, let me ask, how did you get involved with it?
I got involved, my friend Paul Andrew Williams, who directed my episode, Mike and Michelle, is a friend, and it was one of those where obviously they were trying to pull things together really, really quickly, and I got a phone call on Sunday just saying, Angela, can you help me out? We're shooting this thing. It means learning 23 pages of dialogue over the next 24 hours and filming it yourself in your own home. What do you think? And I was like, absolutely, 100%. What else am I going to be doing in this time other than cooking my 9,065th meal for my family? Yes, please, I'd like to be an actor again, thank you. So Paul Andrew Williams brought me on board.
Now, what was the preparation like? Because you still had pages to learn, but how different was it from filming a regular production?
Massively different. There was nothing the same other than having lines to learn. But even that I had to do in super quick time. We were sent sterilised equipment. Oh, that's the ice cream man's just going past. I don't know if you can hear that. Sterilised equipment was sent to us, and it included 2 mobile phones, some lighting, so a boom that connected to one of the phones, a radio mic. I had someone standing at 2 meters outside my house, fully masked up, gloved up, showing me how all this equipment worked. And then I had to bring it all into the house and try and set it up myself. And we did some rehearsal on Zoom, just like this, with the director and the other actor. And that lasted for maybe an hour, 2 hours, because the majority of the rehearsal we needed was actually for the technical side of it. So the prep was really learning how to use the equipment, where to set it up, and how we were going to actually shoot it.
And was the director there while you were shooting to give you any advice?
He was on Zoom, yes. So literally we had 2 laptops were delivered. So one laptop was what we actually used for the show, because Mike and Michelle is about a psychotherapist talking to her client. So we had a computer to use for that particular bit, but then we had another computer, and on the other computer was a Zoom call that went on for the whole day. And the director was on there, Vanessa White, the DOP was on there, the sound department were on there, our first assistant director was on there, and they would, as we were doing takes, would give notes, ask us to move lights, ask us to change the angle on the camera. Fortunately, the way we worked, we used these Samsung phones, which meant that they could remotely operate the phones from their living room. So they pressed record, they could zoom in, zoom out, they could upload everything up to the cloud and the drive, all terms that I now understand. Yeah, so it was like they were all here, but not like they were all here, because also my daughters were in the other room doing homeschooling. My husband kind of came in and would move things around for me, and he made lunch for us, so he became my caterer. The postman would come, we'd get rings on the doorbell. People at home were having like their babies on their laps as they were trying to direct. Do you know what? It was brilliant. It was really brilliant. It was guerrilla filming. It was such a buzz. And then when we actually saw what we'd made, it's like, oh wow, it's a show. It doesn't look like we've just like done this in 5 weeks. It's a professional show. It's a professional production.
Yeah, definitely. It looked amazing. And I was so impressed that they were all different. And I noticed that yours was more like a Zoom meeting than the others, but you did have one instance where you turned to the camera at the side. And I thought, how was that done? Was that a piece of equipment that they had given you in advance and it was just recording?
So we recorded the Zoom chat, which in the end we ended up using, like you say, 99.9% of the film is shot on the Zoom. But we shot for 2 days, and we had 2 phones that did maybe 8 different setups. So we actually did it in this room that I'm sat in now, and so we had an over-shoulder shot of me and the screen. We had a profile shot. We had a shot behind the screen, so we got like a single and a mid close-up, and we just didn't end up using them. The only other shot we used, even though there's reams and reams of film for them to go through, the only shot we used was what I call the little Fleabag moment.
Yeah, that was clever. It's just a really clever production. Have you seen the other ones?
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did. And I was also surprised at how different they all were and how they were shot in slightly different ways. And I was really impressed by the lighting and the shots, the way that it had been shot. You know, there was art was made. You know, it wasn't just a basic shoot. There was beautiful shots there.
And for your story, what did you like best about the journey that your characters go through?
Oh, I loved our story. I loved the fact that we have quite a lot of humor, because you know all the films are different. Some are more serious than others, and although ours had that thread of, you know, the panic of a pandemic and how that makes people feel, and, you know, people's mental health within this time, it was also really funny. And I've got to say, that was my favorite element of it all. I loved the humor, I loved the joke, and then I love the TikTok dance at the end, leaving everything on a high.
I love that dance at the end. That was so much fun. Yeah, totally. It just left me laughing at the end. And it was great. And I want to ask you, have you been using Zoom yourself during the pandemic?
Oh my gosh, what would I do without this? Zoom, Google Hangouts, FaceTime, WhatsApp video. I never knew there were so many ways to communicate. Obviously the beauty of Zoom is you can have so many people on here and see everybody all at once. But yeah, I had no clue what Zoom was 13 weeks ago. Now it's my best friend.
Same here. I'd never heard of it before.
And I'll continue using it. That's what I've discovered, is even when, you know, we come out of the other side of this pandemic, which we will do. Mm-hmm. I know we will. There's still elements of it that I will take going forward. I will still use Zoom. I'll still communicate through that. It's a way of me and my family all getting together, because we live in different parts of the country. Yeah, I think it's really useful.
Definitely. Now, I want to ask, how are you and your family coping during the pandemic? What have you been doing to keep yourself busy?
Oh, we have been keeping ourselves, we've been keeping a routine. I'm very much from the school of, you know, let's all wake up at the same time each day from Monday to Friday. Let's have some kind of schedule in place. Let's try and keep ourselves sane by not just going on an extended holiday, essentially. So we've been getting up in the morning. We've been doing Joe Wicks, who's this UK personal trainer who's been doing PE classes for the world. I mean, there's people all over the world doing it, and he does it on YouTube. So every morning, 9 o'clock, we do a 30-minute HIIT workout. Then the school day starts. Me and my husband have taken up tennis, which we started as soon as we were allowed to do that. We've been making food, gorgeous food, making every meal an event. And actually, we've been spending quite incredible times with each other as a family. My daughters have just turned 13 and 16. Both of them have had their birthdays in quarantine. But actually, it's one of those where I do kind of feel like it's brought us closer. You know, my girls are about to fly off out of the nest. You know, they're going to into further education, and you know, their friends are becoming a lot more important. And I'm kind of happy that we've had this time together where they've not been allowed to leave us. They've had to stay with us. And you know, we've watched films, we've watched documentaries, we've been educating ourselves and just being a family.
There has been a lot about it that has been positive, in my opinion. But when it's all over, what's the first thing that you want to do?
Funnily enough, I really miss public transport. I'm from the north of England, and we don't have the tube, the subway, in the north. So I moved down to London 25 years ago, and I've always loved the tube. I've always loved how fast you can get from one side of the city to the other. And so I actually think that the first thing I'm going to do is get on the tube. I'm going to go into the West End of London. I'm going to go into Soho, and I'm going to have someone else make my dinner.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And what's it like right there? Are there any restrictions opening up?
Yeah, so yesterday, non-essential shops were allowed to open, obviously with social distancing in place, but also now there's a quarantine when you enter the country that you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. So there's not many people leaving the country and coming back, so holidays are pretty much off at the moment. But yeah, schools, some of the secondary schools have let some of their pupils back. We've still only got like the younger pupils in our primary schools going back. It doesn't feel that much different, and in all honesty, I've got no desire to go to a shop. I'm quite happy social distancing until it feels a little bit safer for me.
I just want to say thank you so much for talking to me today and for
Absolutely.
this show, because it is just so brilliant. And I think a lot of people are going to relate to it. We've all seen people like this. We've all had Zoom chats like this, although yours are maybe a lot funnier, maybe more emotional. So I just want to say thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure.